webinar. Our presenter is Julie Aubrey, as you can see. She's with the headquarters RI in Chicago. She's our regional membership officer. I met her back in June of last year in Hamburg, and we've been communicating email, and we finally had a face and see each other who we're talking to. So let's get started. Naomi, you can hit the button if you haven't already yet. And Audrey, Julie, this is your time.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad that I get to talk to you using the powers of technology right now. And as Nalani said, I'm your regional membership officer. So what that means is that I am your staff membership resource. If you ever have any questions regarding membership, I'm always happy to help. I'll have my contact information at the end of this presentation. And as we go ahead and talk about practicing flexibility and innovation today, because I am joining you from my home office right now, RI staff mandatory has to work from home through the end of April, given the circumstances we're dealing with right now. So I'm using my own home internet. So I think right now, and this is a good lesson for all of you who might be looking into moving meetings into virtual platforms, to have a backup plan. So if for some reason, if the internet stalls for a moment, I want to invite you at that point to just get up, take a nice stretch, you know, move around for 1 or 2 minutes, and I'll pop back on and join you later. But hopefully that won't be the circumstance. So really what we want to cover today is understanding the value of what it means to meet members and your community where they're at when engaging them in Rotary. Also identifying ways to support the new member and club flexibility. I've got some great examples of what other clubs have been doing in order to provide more engagement for their members. We've got great resources, not only produced by RI, but also by leaders in your region, and then also leaders that have quickly developed help guides for people moving onto virtual platforms during this time. And then we'll have plenty of time for some Q&A at the end. So, what exactly is the benefit of flexibility? We've really seen that research shows that people are more likely to spend more time with Rotary and long-term in Rotary if they're able to engage in the way that they need to. You know, traditionally, we've had meetings once a week. We had tight attendance requirements. A lot of times if people were starting families or starting a new job, or maybe had an ill parent, they might fall off of, you know, the radar of Rotary essentially because the meetings, the culture was so inflexible. So now we're finding that people are more committed to Rotary if we can meet them where they're at. So what does this new flexibility mean? Also, I want to invite you as we go throughout this today, if you have questions that you want us to cover at the end, or if you have examples that you want to share, please feel free to enter that into the chat and we'll get a chance to look at it a little later. But new flexibility. So you as Rotarians, you came together in 2016 at the Council on Legislation where members come together and they vote on what they want, how they want Rotary to exist moving forward. And that year was so crucial in enabling so much more flexibility in how Rotarians and clubs can engage. And that included meeting formats. So you didn't have to have a traditional speaker. You could, you know, vary how your club meets. The meeting frequency, it didn't have to be once a week anymore. It could be twice a month. It could be, you know, 8 times a month if you wanted to increase it. Really depending on what it is your members were seeking. We've relaxed attendance requirements. We've started offering alternative membership types. There is now dual membership for Rotaractors to be in Rotaract and in Rotary. And new club models have started developing. Again, Rotarians have kind of bred this and it's really come to life. So there's some exciting possibilities out there that maybe even existing clubs might look into changing. Okay, so meeting format. So meetings can be traditional. People can continue to have a formal speaker and program if they wish to, but they don't have to. A meeting doesn't have to be a sit-down dinner, breakfast, or lunch anymore. It can be a service project. It can be a social event. You know, if you're having a big get-together or happy hour, that can count as a meeting. If you're having a service project, that can count as a meeting. And meeting online. You know, right now, I think more than anything, we have a really big opportunity to test out some of the technology that exists that maybe some people were afraid of in the past. But right now is a great opportunity to do some trial and error and best engage your members. You know, just because we're socially distancing doesn't mean that we have to actually socially distance. It's physical distancing, right? We still need to engage our members. We still need to engage with each other. And not just in Rotary, but as a people, it's really important to connect right now. So we'll be looking further into online options a little later. But then also, if you want to have a hybrid of how your meetings work, there's a lot of opportunity for that too. You could set it up so that maybe once a month you have a traditional meeting. Then the next meeting is a service project. Then the next meeting is a social event. Mix and match, play around, see what your members respond positively to. Okay, so meeting frequency. This can vary on the days of the week that they're held, the times, how often you meet. I've heard of some clubs that have actually divided into two separate clubs where one meets twice a month on Wednesday evenings and the other meets twice a month on Friday mornings. And they kind of are two clubs within the same club. And they coexist because those were the times that meant that they could join these meetings. And they get together once a month. Everybody collectively gets together for one big social at the end of the month. One thing to note though, with all of this flexibility in how frequently and when you can meet, you do have to be meeting twice per month. So again, that doesn't mean necessarily a traditional meeting, but it means you have to be getting together in some way twice a month. And attendance. Okay, so clubs don't have to relax their attendance requirements, but I think it might be really helpful to really focus on participation and engagement rather than attendance. And that can mean some people might be only able to show up for service projects, or they'll take on a specific leadership role, or they're really good at doing administration for certain events, but they can't meet meetings weekly. Or giving opportunities for other people to run events or run the meetings themselves. So even though we want people to relax the attendance if that's what works for them, it's still helpful to also take attendance just to see if there's anybody that maybe you're missing, somebody that hasn't been to a meeting in like 2 or 3 months. This is a great opportunity to check in with them and see how they're doing. Maybe they're dealing with something personal. Maybe they had started to lose interest, but you reaching out to them brought them back into the fold. So there's an opportunity there to do some check-in. I want to give an example of something that I'd heard recently from a Rotarian. He is extremely active. He had helped form this flexible club that meets half the time online and half the time in person. And the whole point of the club was to be flexible. He helped build their website. He's contributed a lot to them, but right now he's in a period of time where things have escalated at work. He is about to get married and start a family. He's fairly young. He's about 30 years old. And because he's not able to engage with this club right now, he's actually being threatened now that maybe he shouldn't be a member of the club anymore. What's really disappointing about this is the inflexibility. I think being able to look at that person's engagement and have a little bit of empathy and patience might benefit the club and that Rotarian overall. Again, case by case basis, but I think being able to look at maybe that person's time of life, maybe they're helping someone who's sick, maybe they're sick, and just having approaching things with a little bit of empathy and curiosity couldn't hurt. Okay, so membership type. So we know that a lot of clubs are already kind of doing these membership types before the COL allowed it to take place, which is wonderful. So we're going to cover a few examples. So one is family and partner memberships. And this just allows that maybe your club is completely family friendly and you invite the kids to every meeting and service project as well. Maybe it's that partners are splitting the cost of one membership, and maybe one person's listed as honorary, which means they don't pay dues, and the other one is listed as the active member. Really is up to the club to determine that, especially based on engagement. If both partners were showing up to the meetings all the time, then obviously they would want people to pay for their own meals or whatever costs might be a part of that. And oh, just a reminder, if you can mute yourself, just no worries, no worries. It's all about flexibility today, okay? Another thing to look at is corporate or nonprofit membership types. And what this means is, for example, there could be a certain local business that you want to engage, and they're not necessarily ready to commit to be a full member, or they're not able to make the meetings all the time, but you know that they could offer a lot to your club and you could offer a lot to them as being an opportunity in the community. So maybe 4 members from that business rotate attending your meetings. They can bring their knowledge and their talent while at the same time keeping in touch with what's happening in the community and being able to give back. And again, this is something that you can set up. There is a guide to corporate membership available, which we're going to link at the end. But this just gives you an idea. That's just one example of how you could have a corporate or nonprofit membership. And there's some flexibility. It might be that only one person is registered as an active member and they pay dues, and then folks rotate attending the meetings on their behalf. Another one is associate. I like to think of this as kind of a trial-based membership. Perhaps they engage with your club for about 6 months or 3 months or even a year. And it's a way for them to start to see the value that your club is offering them before they commit. Some people, depending on where they're at in life, they're like, yeah, that's great, but I'm not ready. This is a great opportunity to show them what being a member of this club could really do for them and how they could build those relationships. They kind of buy in ahead of time. So they might not be an official member for the first 3, 6, 9 months, depending on how you place this. And again, that's up to you to decide what's best works for you. And then young professionals, I'm going to have an example later for you, but sometimes certain clubs will offer a discount on dues for those under 30 or those under 40, just so that they know that they might not have the financial resources yet, but they have a lot to contribute as being part of the community. So this is helping them financially in the meantime so that they're able to afford to be a member. Again, this is something that can be decided on by you and your club. If you think it would be really beneficial, but you're finding that maybe some of your fellow members aren't ready to sign on the dotted line and make it official, you can do it a trial-based run. You can say, hey, we're going to try out this membership type for the next 6 months or a year, and we're going to come back together as a club and review this and see how we feel about it. One thing to note, with all of these different membership types, these are really unofficial. These are really just known at the club level. Whereas if you are adding a new member to your club, there's only 2 types that are recognized by Rotary, and that's active and honorary. And active means that they pay dues, that they can vote on club decisions, that they can hold a club leadership position, and they're included in the head count of your membership. Whereas honorary means that they don't pay dues, they're not included in the head count, they can't vote on issues, and they can't hold a leadership role. So just something to keep in mind. Again, if you have questions about this a little later, happy to help discuss it with you. And then club models. So there's been a lot of new types of clubs emerging right now. It's a very exciting time. So we all know about traditional clubs who meet weekly and in person, usually have a formal program, maybe a meal. There's also e-clubs that meet primarily online. And they can be, this is a great way to also be very international. You've got opportunities to connect with different countries. You could be living in Australia, but you could be a member of, say, an e-club in Hawaii. So just something to keep in mind. It does allow for some flexibility. You know, you're dealing with a lot of different cultures, which can be very exciting. And one thing to note is in the past, people had to formally record that they were an e-club. That is no longer. Rotarians also decided to do away with that. So there might be an e-club that doesn't necessarily identify as an e-club. They just simply meet online. There's also hybrids, ones that meet both in person and online. Corporate clubs, this is something that's completely brand new that's come out. And a corporate club might be made up of, or mostly made up of, workers or employees all at one business or corporation. And it's a little tricky, it's a little new. We're not necessarily able to include that corporate name in the club title yet. Right now they're working with legal to look at that. However, I know there's one district in California that's been on a roll. They're near Silicon Valley, and they've been new corporate clubs popping up all over the place. And the cool thing about that is a place like Silicon Valley that, you know, you've got a lot of tech expertise. They work really long hours. If they're going to attend Rotary, Rotary kind of has to come to them. So in that circumstance, it might make sense to have a corporate club with a lot of flexibility specifically for that audience. There's also cause-based clubs. This is where a club might come together and strictly focus on water and sanitation or literacy. I've even worked with a club that focused only on projects that supported children locally. In some ways, this can be really beneficial because there's no mixed messages when you're trying to communicate with your community. But in some ways, it can also be a little limiting if you're trying to look for new projects. But I really like some of the things that are being developed there. There's also alumni-based clubs, and that can be Rotaractors, former Rotaractors, all the program participants, including youth exchange or ambassadorial scholars, stuff like that. So people that grew up maybe with Rotary, and maybe they're not looking to join an existing club, but kind of form a new club with some of the participants that they know and develop something completely new. We all know about Rotaract clubs, very important. We know that elevating Rotaract is very important right now. And then the two last ones that I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about, and that is satellite clubs and passport clubs. And you'll see why I'm going to spend a little bit more time about them. Sometimes people get confused between them, or they just don't fully understand what those models have to offer. So satellite clubs. So essentially, a satellite is tethered to a sponsor club. They only need 8 members to form, whereas a new Rotary club needs 20 members to charter. So this starts off with 8 members, and essentially the sponsor club is mentoring them. It can be mentoring them on how to run the administrative side of things. It can be mentoring them on getting prepared for presidents-elect training seminars, or the expectations of what that club will have to do to prepare for when they want to charter off on their own. But there's no deadline, so they can take as much time as they need. But the idea behind the satellite isn't to be a mimic of that exact Rotary club, but to kind of form their own identity. So they might meet at different meeting times and days, have a different due structure, maybe even cost altogether. They would have different projects and direction, although they're welcome to do some joint projects with their sponsor club. And they would have separate boards. So instead of there being a club president, there would be a club chair. So really, this is a great opportunity if you have some members that are interested in starting something new, but they're not ready to form a club altogether off on their own, but you want to help support them as they are starting this new club. This is a great opportunity for your club to maybe help form a satellite club. Then there's passport clubs. So this is a little tricky to talk about, and I'll do my best. So essentially a passport, and I love the name passport, it implies, you know, kind of traveling or visiting. You would be engaging with a whole bunch of other clubs in your district. rather than you and your fellow club members always coming together for some kind of traditional meeting. And this can be formed by a new club, or an existing club can actually adopt this model if they're interested. And what it is the members would attend other club meetings, projects, fundraisers, and kind of sample and network within the district, really getting to try out different forms of existing as a Rotarian. And one thing I do need to note though, just like with other clubs, they need to meet twice a month. So if you might ask, how are you doing that if you're going to other clubs' meetings? Well, essentially you would want your club calendar to show what club meetings your members are attending, and that can be part of it. You can also, instead of meeting in person, you could have an online forum that, you know, members are supposed to attend or update twice a month, and that can count as a meeting as well. A lot of flexibility there. So if you're ever looking, if you have questions, you can talk with, you know, your district membership chair, Nalani. You can talk with me. I'm happy to brainstorm some ideas if you're interested. And really the strength behind a Passport Club is offering flexibility, again, to people who might not be able to attend a meeting at the same time every week or every other week. If they're looking for variety, really want to test out what it's like to be a Rotarian in different kinds of clubs. If they're looking for something more affordable, and if they're looking to build those connections across the district, this might be a great opportunity for them. All right, and let's talk a little bit about virtual meetings. So, as you can see, I am at home in my own office, and some of you might be looking into moving into virtual meetings, given what's happened right now with the health crisis. And there's a lot of opportunity to test some things out. I was even telling Nalani, I realized when I got home, I don't have a second monitor to look at notes, so I have notes on my phone. I'm literally trying to practice flexibility in itself. I've got, you know, my laptop boosted up. I've got lamps in different sides so that my face is well lit. My cat is hanging out in the background. You might, if you move to virtual meetings, you might be seeing children in the background or pets hanging out. While it might not seem as professional as we expect, it's actually a really great way to get to know your members and kind of a view into their life every day a little bit. So I really want to encourage you to look at this with curiosity and an opportunity. So if you're looking to move into virtual meetings, even if it's just temporarily, or if you're looking to maybe incorporate something more frequently, I want to encourage you to build a team to support your club. And this means, you know, right now, Nalani and Naomi, they're helping to run Zoom while I'm presenting. If there were some tech issues, they would be able to look at the chat box and maybe help folks out. You do not have to take on everything by yourself. So I really want you to get people helping you with some of the tech, with maybe some of the programming and presentations. And then even, you know, if you've got someone that's got new ideas of how people can engage, getting that team together to really offer support so that it doesn't rest on the shoulders of one person. Another thing is to start looking at maybe some possible platforms. I personally really love Zoom. And I know that Nalani and Naomi were talking about there's some availability for you to use some of their licenses if that's something that you're interested in. But Zoom is great because you get to see people's faces. And whereas GoToMeeting is kind of cool because you can do polls, but you don't get to see their faces. There's some other online programming like Facebook Live, but that's got some limitations too. It really just depends on what do you aim to accomplish. So trying out different platforms, testing that out, there's some free versions for you to try out at first if you're looking for that. Another thing is to present with empathy. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be super organized, but the idea behind it is that you really want to help your audience. So if you've got members who are very uncomfortable with meeting online, again, utilizing that team to help get them trained so that maybe they understand what Zoom is, working together on that. If they're scared that they're going to do something wrong or break it, Just having the patience and empathy to express yourself and to include them in this conversation, and that meeting online is not so scary, I think will really help get your members on board. And set realistic expectations. Kind of like I did at the beginning, where, next thing is have a backup plan. I wanted to express that right now I'm working with limits that are outside of my control, but what I can control is letting you know that if the internet were to go out, I would be back online in just a few minutes and we would still be able to have this conversation. So maybe if you're having a Zoom meeting and that's not an option for you, maybe you have an online forum or Facebook group where you're going to follow up and you want people to ask questions and you're going to touch base there later. So really trying to understand, like, let people know, no, it's not perfect right now, a little bit of trial and error, but this is exciting, and letting them know what to do if something goes wrong. The cardinal rule, be aware of video and muting. So this is something that everybody takes some time to get used to. Very important, helping folks know if they have, right here, we've got the camera, if they have a camera on their computer and where it's located so they know where to look. Or if they're on their phone and they're distracted, they want to make sure that they know we can see them. And then also how to mute themselves, just so that people can stay focused. They don't end up, confused or embarrassing themselves because they didn't know people could see them. So helping them with that. Also, it's not always easy to do in a presentation like this, but if I were to get rid of the PowerPoint and I just had all of your faces across my screen and I could see everyone all at once, it's a great way that you're able to read the room. And you can see if people are having struggles with their computer, if they're confused about the content that you're talking about. You can kind of take a pause and ask how people are feeling about things. Take some questions. Nothing says you can't pause and address the concerns of what your audience might be facing. And then also consider having shorter meetings. As we know, sitting at a computer is not as engaging as being in person with your friends and food and energy and maybe even music. It just doesn't have the same kind of energy. So being realistic that maybe half the length of your club meeting or even shorter might be more appropriate for an online meeting. And then engaging online. So engagement goes beyond just meeting. And when I talked earlier about this is a great opportunity to connect with other people, I mean, right now, some of us are in lockdown or stay-at-home order, and we really do face, and sometimes without even realizing, loneliness. You want to make sure that maybe some people have someone to talk to if they're worried, if they just need a friend, if maybe they need help getting groceries right now, if maybe they're a health professional and they don't have time to go pick up some of these things. Right now is a great opportunity to really build on fellowship. And I've seen some really cool ideas popping up where people might, like I talked earlier about Facebook groups. And if you don't know what that is, it means it can be a Facebook group for just your club, or it could even be a Facebook group for a group of people or the district. And what you can do there is you can make it private. And if you did something like that for your club, you could have fun competitions. Right now, people are looking for inspiration and ways to engage. So I saw somebody said, like, challenge for this day, take a beautiful picture of the sunset and post it. For this day, share an inspirational quote. For this day, tell us what home project you're working on. For this day, is there an opportunity of some kind of at-home service we could be doing right now? So this is a great way to you don't have to be doing it daily, but just tap into your audience and have some fun, get some creativity and get them posting. So with that, writing engaging posts, not just writing a question that's a yes or a no, but having them build on that. What could we be doing more of right now? What opportunities are they seeing coming out of being at home so frequently? Something that's engaging, inspiring, fun, being mindful of that. And maybe not so formal always. Sometimes formality, but maybe sometimes just, it's a friend reaching out. It's a cool opportunity to maybe feature some of your members. And I know some clubs already do like member profiles where they might have someone introduce themselves. They might have been a member for 1 year or 15 or 30. But it always helps to kind of remind people what skills you have, what work you've done, because that also changes over time. So right now it could be a great opportunity to do small featurettes of some of your members. And buddy groups. Right now, I'm even doing this with some of my friends, and we're about to start doing this with my Rotary Club. So I use an app called Marco Polo. And it's not one that you can call someone up. It's essentially a video messaging app, and people can look at that video and respond to it whenever they feel like it. And right now, a lot of the groups that I'm with are about 4 or 5 people at a time. And it's fun. When I take a break from work, I might have 3 or 4 messages of people being silly or just updating me on what's going on. And even though our timing for maybe doing a phone call isn't aligning, it's a great way to still feel connected. I'm getting to see their energy. I'm getting to hear them laugh. I get to see their face. So yeah, Marco Polo is an app that I'm a big fan of. So maybe you did buddy groups in your club where maybe people split up into groups of 4 to 6 people, and this is how they stay engaged right now, just checking in and having fun with each other. But there's lots of apps out there for just checking in. WhatsApp is really great, has a video call feature on it, has a group text feature on it. Slack is a great one for just having long conversations, maybe about a project that you're working on. And again, a lot of these are going to be listed in the resources I'm going to follow up with you on. Another thing is, just because if, say, you're meeting online doesn't mean that you can't do happy bucks still. If you've got Venmo or just an honor system of saying, hey, next time I see you in person, I'm going to give you $3 because I cleaned out my family's closet today and I feel so proud and it feels good to do a great purge. Or I took a long, beautiful walk today and one of my friends went with me and walked 6 feet away from me and we practiced social distancing but got some exercise. Nothing says you can't still do happy bucks and be fundraising at the same time. You can also attend an e-club meeting and report back. So there's a whole bunch of clubs that meet online. I know we're trying to make some more of these clubs available, but you can also go to rotary.org and go to the club finder and you can search by different e-clubs. So you could maybe make it a challenge to your members one week that they're all supposed to go to a different e-club meeting and report back on what they thought was really cool or what they learned from that meeting, or just if they made a new friend or a new contact. That could be a great idea. And then lastly, not just for engaging online, but also for virtual meetings, it doesn't hurt to survey your members. This is all a big experiment right now for many people. It doesn't hurt to see what maybe people are still afraid of, if they're frustrated with, if they have an idea of how you can better be engaging. This is a great way to hear from them on what can be done to make some improvements. And now I've got some examples of different flexibility I wanted to share. So, Rotary Club of Bonita Beach Sunset, they discovered that they really had an opportunity for a satellite after doing a community assessment. So they made that available to some of the new members and some of the members that were actually about ready to leave Rotary, not because they didn't like Rotary, but because they just couldn't make the meetings, they couldn't interface with the existing club in the way they wanted to. So they meet twice monthly in the evenings, and now they have a special young professionals discount based off of the survey. There's also the Twin Cities Rotary Eco Club in Minnesota. They just chartered recently, and they're entirely devoted to environmental issues. They really want to focus on the young at heart, so they're not necessarily looking for young professionals, but they are looking for very energized and very vibrant members who want to get out there and be working together. They wanted to make costs really, really lean, and they didn't want to focus so much on meetings as much as they did action. And there's a Rotary Club of Cross Timbers in Texas. I love this club. They essentially, it was about 8 members from an existing Rotary Club that said, hey, love this club. We can't meet at this time anymore. We're wanting something fresh and new. So they literally drew out on a board what their ideal Rotary Club would be, and they designed it. And it caught on so quickly that they chartered with 62 members, and that grew to 100, and they've retained 100 since, I think, 2015. They are extremely engaged. They meet at a really unconventional time, which is Fridays after breakfast, like after school has started. Oddly enough, that was a time where people were like, no, really, this is the best time for me. And I love their motto, 2 mottos: perfect engagement, not perfect attendance, and no drama. They say leave drama at the door, has no business being there. And they record all their meetings so that people who miss it can make it up later. They also have a ton of fellowship. I'm talking, their calendar is packed. Someone has an idea of how they can engage members in different forms of fellowship. They say, great, organize it, put it on the calendar. I think they do like a couples cruise and a wine night. They've got something for everyone. And then there's the Rotary Club of Ambassadors. So this is a very unique club that didn't really exist ever. So that's what I want you to take away from this as well, is I've given you a list of different kinds of clubs, different kinds of membership. But if there's something that you're looking for that you haven't seen on here, develop it yourself. So this is what this club has done. They chartered at 20 members and then they capped it. They said, we don't want any more members. We want this to be a very intimate club. They meet twice online, monthly, and then they have a cocktail hour on Sunday afternoons. But then once a quarter, that turns into a Saturday night huge dinner catered at one of the members' houses that everyone pays for. But as a gift to the host, they all bring a bottle of their favorite beverage to share. They have partner membership, and they do 3 projects annually. It's a very intimate gathering, and they even developed their own PDF for other people. If they wanted to create their own ambassadors club, that was their way of contributing to membership development at that point. But that's the experience that they were looking for, something really intimate. And then people, like, one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at flexibility, not just doing flexibility for flexibility's sake, actually making sure that this is what your members want or need. Same thing with your community. So taking the time to maybe assess and survey how people are feeling about the existing meeting formats and programming, why you would want to maybe add this kind of flexibility, the issues that you're concerned about that might need to be addressed, and then if they want to do it on a trial basis. So we really want people not just to be flexible just because they can or they want to say that there's this new thing. We want them to actually be very thoughtful about the decisions they're making when they enlist this. Here are a whole bunch of resources, and I've already sent them in an email so that you'll have ready access to them. And that includes, on the Rotary website, there's a page for flexibility and then also a page for membership overall. There's a membership resource guide that I update quarterly with regional helpful tools, including a guide to satellite clubs, a guide to passport clubs, and I didn't list down here, but there's even a guide to corporate membership. And then Big West Zones 26 and 27, they also have a resources page. Lots of great stuff on there, great 12-year membership chart, even some really fun videos that might be great to share with your club as part of your program online. And where you see your club in these funny videos and what you can do to kind of rectify some of those situations. And then your fellow your fellow Rotarians have developed some really amazing online resources just since, this mister keeps rubbing up against my laptop, so I'm sorry if I seem distracted. See, this is all about flexibility. My poor cat, he just wants to be part of Rotary as well. But your resources for virtual meetings and engagement, a lot of Rotarians have stepped out of the woodwork when this health crisis started going on and saying, hey, I know how to meet online and I know how to do it really well. Here's how you can do it too. And so I've put together some of those resources that fellow Rotarians stepped up to develop right away. There's also some great information from professionals that we as staff have been looking to so that we can better support you as Rotarians, that you might find some guidance for when you're looking to maybe develop virtual meetings. And here's my contact information. You can always take a screenshot or you can just write this down. We can follow up later. Feel free to follow me on Facebook. I try and post some updates there and some resources there. Feel free to call or email me. I'm always happy to talk. And yeah, I want to leave it open to questions now if there's any.
There was a question that was typed by a member who is on my membership committee. Her name is Connie Ichinozi. And she asked, while you were doing the satellite presentation, how many needed to form passport clubs? And I was going to try to wave you down. We had a response of 20, which is true.
Yes.
But for those who are using their phone and not online, would not have been able to catch the question. So I'll leave it for our audience to see if there's anyone who would like to ask our professional here anything about membership.
Yeah, Julie, hi, I'm Carol Riley from Waikiki. I am wondering if there's any way we can get a copy of your PowerPoint. This is wonderful.
Oh, good. Yeah, I would be happy to share it. And let me just update some of the notes. but yeah, I'd be happy to share it. You know, I just put together the virtual meeting stuff, so I hope that some of the notes that I'll update in there will be helpful to you.
That is just terrific. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
May I ask a question? Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Yeah, David, right?
Yes. I'm sorry about the interruption, by the way. I just joined and.
Oh, you're fine.
Anyway, I'm wondering how you post the PowerPoints on your presentation. In other words, if we're having a meeting and we want to post a PowerPoint, where does it come from? How do you get it onto the screen?
Sure. So basically, you probably can't see this. Here, I'm actually going to stop sharing just for a moment to show you how I did this. So this is what it looks like when we're not showing a PowerPoint. And then what you'll see at the bottom of the screen is a little share button with the green arrow. So I clicked on that, and you can't see this part, but it allows you to look at anything you have open on your screen. You can decide what you're going to do. Then I clicked on the PowerPoint, clicked share. Now you can see the beginning, and then I started it. So I would say that's another thing, Zoom, you don't have to have a membership, like a paid membership if your meetings are less than 30 minutes. So I would actually recommend going to them, signing up, and then scheduling a meeting and practicing. Like I scheduled a meeting before this so that I could set up the lamps in the room, make sure I'm standing right now because I have more energy when I'm standing, and I wanted to be very energetic for you guys. And my laptop is sitting on a standing desk right now. So it doesn't hurt to like play around with that, right? Especially since there is a free version of Zoom for you to test that out. And, you know, you can even, it doesn't have to be a PowerPoint either. You could play a video. You know, say you wanted to do like a TED Talk or something for your club, you could run that, and then you'll see too, especially if you're not on your phone, you'll see a chat box in case people had comments or questions during it.
If one of the viewers, not the moderator, but the viewer presses share screen, what happens?
I don't think they can share a screen while I'm sharing a screen. So if you were running your meeting and you're sharing a screen, I don't think someone else can take it away from you. I think you would have to press stop share in order for them to start sharing their screen.
Okay.
And this is, again, another good opportunity. If you have another member in your club who you think might be able to help you run some of these meetings, schedule a test meeting and play around with it. I've done that with colleagues too. It never hurts to get a refresher on these things too.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay,
I do have one thing.
okay, Mo?
Kima, why don't you go first?
Hi, it's Chemo Jim from Rotary Club of Hilo. Hey, Randy. Hi, Connie. Hi, Sally. I'm actually here in the San Francisco Bay Area, but I'm heading back to Hawaii in a couple days, trying to get there before the governor cuts it off. Anyway, I go to a couple other Rotary Club meetings here that I'm familiar with. And one of the clubs in District 5130, it's Rancho Cotati, had a Zoom meeting instead of their regular meeting. And the club is about 30, I think it's 38 members, but we had a 16 or 17 on the Zoom call. And the president did a great job and just handling the meeting. But, you know, with the coronavirus and all that going on, and a lot of clubs, especially here in California, Illinois, New York, and probably now in Hawaii too, most clubs are not meeting. How does RI feel about doing the sort of virtual meetings, like using the Zoom app and doing a meeting that way?
Oh, we are encouraging it. We're definitely encouraging it because we want people to stay active, stay connected, especially right now. A lot of people are stressed out, they're anxious, they feel separated from their loved ones and their community, and meeting online helps keep people together. And technology right now is incredible. Like, if this had happened 10 years ago, I can't imagine there being as much availability to meet online in such an engaging way. Right now, there's so much available, and I actually feel very grateful, but also bad for so many people who work at these tech companies who are like trying to stay on top of it. You know, Zoom is even offering, if you use Rotary Global Rewards and you wanted to purchase your own license, there's a 20% discount there. So, I mean, we're extremely encouraging. What we want to be very clear about, though, is don't try to make your in-person meeting happen the same way online. It won't work that way. You know, you don't have a room. You know, some people have a stage, or they have the front of the room with their flag and their speaker. It's just not going to be possible to be so engaging that way. And that speaker, you know, if you have a speaker you want to bring in, they can be part of the Zoom call too. I think that right now we are definitely embracing technology, and we're encouraging folks to play with it, have fun, test something out, try something new. And then let us know how it goes. We would love to feature you as a club that tried something new and found something cool that maybe they'll carry with them beyond the health stuff that's going on right now. So we are absolutely supportive of this.
I believe District 5000 has a Zoom account, and I'm associated with Global Telemedicine. We do Rotary projects, and we buy commercial Zoom accounts. So they're not really that expensive, and they're very slick. And by the way this particular club went, this meeting went, and I'm going to attend again. I'm going to try to. Is the president just went around and just sort of gave everyone an opportunity to say, hey, how you doing with the virus? Staying home. What's life like? What's going on? And a lot of the exchanges ended up being very comical because, as you know, you can, the Zoom app is so good that you can interact with, like if I want to just say something to Randy over there, you know, Randy, what are you doing there at your desk? You know, what's that funny looking thing that you've got sitting there? You can kind of do that and you know, a lot of our Rotary meetings, we like to kid around with other Rotarians. That kind of makes it that much more enjoyable. So I found this whole experience using the Zoom app and having this meeting is just a really nice, and I think the meeting was went maybe 35 or 40 minutes. So it was kind of short, sweet, and I'd say very successful.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, And that's what we want. You know, you can private message different folks. We want that kind of incitement. And I think that that's great that they were able to do kind of a check-in with everyone, because this affects everyone so differently. And you might be able to see some of the levity in it if you're able to joke about it with friends rather than kind of sitting alone in silence. I'll be really honest, I've even scheduled some coffee breaks on Zoom with some of my colleagues this week, and I have a happy hour, a virtual happy hour on Friday evening, because I too need that connection right now. I miss my friends, I miss my colleagues, and though my cat is very sweet, he doesn't talk all that much. So even I need some of that socialization right now. Thank you for sharing that example.
Julie, Dick May from Couple 8. I just want to say thanks. Lots of good information in this meeting. Really appreciated it. A comment, you know, what we're learning as we begin to use Zoom and the technology we have available, we'll be able to do the business of Rotary and still keep in touch emotionally with the Rotary family we work with. Seems to me there's another key thing we can do, and that is as we go forward and begin to work our international projects, this offers a great opportunity for us to also use Zoom in conjunction with partner clubs in other countries around the world to take an on-site look at how the project is going and to build support for it.
Absolutely, I love that idea. Yeah, using it beyond just engaging and socializing, but checking in on projects and grants. I think there's so much opportunity there. And again, I mentioned this before we'd started, but I was telling Nalani that sometimes adversity brings out so much creativity, and thinking of things that maybe we were afraid to do or didn't think to do that now could really benefit us in the future. And I think that's a great example. Being able to connect with your international partners after this or right now is a great opportunity. Thank you for sharing that.
Anyone else?
I'm sorry. Did somebody say something?
I was just going to ask if there was anyone else who had a question or an idea or suggestion for Julie.
Well, I do want to say thanks from Hanalei Bay Rotary, and it was really informative and helpful, and anything that gets our mind going like this, I think is really helpful, and I think that's how we try to relate to our clubs. We had a Zoom meeting for our first meeting last Thursday, and we had 20 people show up. I was really surprised. It's maybe the most active core group, but also some people I didn't expect showed up, and it was really good. And the meeting lasted an hour. We had happy bucks, and I think everybody on the call gave $10 for happy bucks just in celebration of us being together. So it really generated some income. We haven't been paid yet, of course, but I think the mechanism for PayPal or the other one you mentioned, I think is a good idea. Venmo, yeah. So I think that's a great idea. This week we're having an expert on albatrosses speak to us about her trip to Midway, which was a short time ago. So that to us is of great interest on Kauai. So anyway, thanks very much. And I'm sorry it's a little bit late.
No, I actually used to work with Australia and New Zealand, so some of my nights working with them ended at midnight or 1 a.m. because of the time difference. So this is cool, and I'm already at home. So I'm just excited I got to talk with you guys this evening, or this afternoon if you're in Hawaii.
Okay, well, if we don't have any more questions, Julie, thank you so much for your presentation. And yes, we look forward to your PowerPoint. I think many of us can use that as a meeting, and you can be our presenter day or evening or morning, whichever it is. All right, with that, aloha, mahalo, and we'll talk soon. Okay?
Mahalo.
Thank you, everyone.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Aloha.
Great seeing you, Nalani.
Oh, thank you, Marianne. I miss you too. Well, maybe we need a buddy group here.
Yeah, we do.